Good morning, neighbor. How are you? Now today, we've been pretty emotional. Memorial Day that's emotional stuff right there. And then of course Mother's Day, and that's very personal to this old boy. And then you had Father's Day, and most of you liked that one. It might be two that didn't, but just suck your thumb. It'll be all right. Now today I'm going to do something a little different. Now, you know how when you write something, sometimes you write something and it looks better on the written page and you don't think you can speak it any better than you wrote it, right? Now, this little book of mine is the most imperfect book you will ever read. But the stories, the stories about real people, real events, all that. And everybody loves the stories. Now, my daddy, let's do it like this. I need to explain this to you. We're going to be talking today about something called a snipe hunt. Neighbor, have you ever been on a snipe hunt? Do you even know what a snipe is? Is a snipe hunt actually a snipe hunt? Well, I had these questions too, right? Because I have been on snipe hunts myself, but I've never seen a snipe. So I actually looked it up. And there is actually a bird that is called a snipe. In fact, there's several birds under the snipe umbrella. 2 or 3 of them actually cannot fly. But I challenge you to find me anybody that's ever been on a snipe hunt where they actually took a bag full of snipes home with them. I dare you, find somebody. They're not out there. I'm going to explain to you briefly. I don't want to mention, because I'm going to read this story out of this book, okay? Let me explain to you what a snipe hunt really is. It's an exercise in mischief for a group of folks that want to scare the living daylights out of some sucker, friend who's going to be a sucker, who has no clue what a snipe hunt is, and it's got to be somebody that buys the line when you tell them what they're going to be doing. And if you set it up right, it's classic. This one didn't turn out classic. The idea is you tell that person what you're going to do. You're going to hunt snipe. They make a good stew. And you're going to make a big one. They can have the first bowl, but you need them to do you a favor. Well, what's that? In a snipe hunt, you put this person at one end of a ravine or a ditch or whatever, and you got them holding a great big old burlap sack, maybe. And you say, hold that sack to the ground, because we're going to run those snipe down this ditch, this ravine or whatever it is. They can't see worth the two, and they're going to run right in that bag. Don't let them get around you now. Get them all. And we'll take them home, tie that bag up. We'll take them home and clean them. And we'll have a stew that you will never forget. Your sucker is going to say, boy, that sounds good right there. I've never had snipe stew. You ain't going to either. But they're bought in. Now, you're going to do this snipe hunt in the dead of night. It's going to in the darkest part of whatever woods you live around. No street lights, no nothing. You're amongst nature only. And you leave that poor soul on one end of the ravine, holding a burlap sack, and you go in the other direction. This story, I call it Dad's last snipe hunt. And I'm going to read it for you. If you ever get one of these little old books, it's the most imperfect book you ever read. But some of the things they did to have fun. My. Anyways, now I'm going to read this to you. Dad's last snipe hunt. Now, you know how it is for young'uns after any church meeting, don't you, friend? They can't go home till mom and dad go home. So they find ways to occupy their time till time to go, right? Well, in my dad's day, this was a prime time for a good snipe hunt. They could walk home when the hunt was over. And so on this night, after a revival meeting, the gang decided that a good snipe hunt would be an excellent way to end their evening. If only they could find somebody to hold the bag. I'm getting tickled just reading this, y'all. Imagine how hard it was for them to contain their glee when a young lady in their midst, hearing the talk, volunteered to do sack duty. Now this was almost too good to be true for the boys. Not just a new sucker, but a girl too. With parental approval in hand, off down into the dark woods they go. Keep in mind, they are leaving church. They have their Sunday go to meeting best on. Now for the boys, that's not necessarily a bad thing. They would most likely have on overalls and be wearing boots. If they were lucky, they would have a starched white shirt. As for the young lady of that day, she may have had on her only Sunday dress, painstakingly made by her mother. So it was, Dad used to say, with this little lady. The script went off to perfection. And which of the two normal options do you suppose the boys chose on this night? They had two, right? You could just go up the ditch and go on home. Let the bag holder figure out they've been left and get home best way they could. Your other option, if you planned well, you've already been down there and you put any kind of noisemaker known to man back behind where the bag holder is going to be standing. And you slip around the far side and come up behind him quietly. And on a count of three or whatever they used, you grab them noisemakers and you just bam, bam, bam. You get the picture? Which of these two options do you suppose the boys chose on this night? Well, it would not be gentlemanly to just leave a young lady in the woods to find her own way out, now would it? The only honorable thing to do then was to scare the living daylights out of her and share a good laugh on the way home as she cussed them out. What's that? Oh, don't be fooled, my friend. Young ladies can cuss with the best of them when the situation warrants it. Phase one of this hunt went as planned. The boys circled around. They were able to get closer than they had ever gotten before to a victim. And they did have the use of long stash noisemakers. When it was time to make noise, well, a high school band couldn't have made more noise than them. Brother, they made the trees shake, they made the deer stampede, and came darn near waking the dead. It was at that moment in time when their evening took a turn that would make for a lifelong memory. Trust me on that one. The young lady bolted. Now, I don't mean to say she ran, she bolted. I mean to say she left that ditch so fast till the sack she was holding stayed in the air a good 3 seconds thinking it was still being held. Worse, when she cleared the woods, she headed straight for the cow pasture fence that she and the boys had gone through not long ago. On the way to the woods, the boys were the very picture of chivalry, helping her to get through the strands. Well, the boys were not with her now, and she was not inclined to wait for them. She was in complete, all-out, feet don't fail me now mode. That poor pasture fence, it never stood a chance. Hell hath no fury like a woman who is running as though it just might be the devil himself who's chasing her. Friend, I don't mean she jumped over that pasture fence. What she did was she ran through that fence. Now then, her Sunday dress, you know, the one her mother made by hand, it's in shreds. And she's scratched up from one end to the other. She looks like she just got the worst of it in a playground fight. We won't even talk about her hairdo. This obstruction and the results of it caused the addition of a couple more octaves to the area she was already performing. She knows what her parents' reaction is going to be when they see her dress. She still has no idea what might be behind her. She has no desire to look either. As she makes a beeline home, I can picture her screaming so loud that the grass or the weeds lay down in front of her only to be mangled in her wake. Meanwhile, the boys are back at the starting line, so to speak. Their jaws have dropped so wide as to make a fair rest stop for any bug running away from an owl. No one moves to try to catch her. None of them think they have a prayer of catching her. To not be able to catch a girl, even in these, let's say, unusual circumstances, would cause a fellow a good bit of flack when the guys at school or at church. None of them were willing to risk it. Never had they seen a girl run that fast. Besides, they saw her destroy that pasture fence. They have an idea that might become a long one once she gets home. They decide that the best thing to do at this point was for them to put on their running legs and get to the house. As they run home, now you got to picture it. This story was told to me by my father many times over the years. As they run home, the young lady gets to her own home. Her family meets her in the yard. She has already been heard. You know how it is with a train, don't you, friend? You hear it way before you see it, right? I rest my case. So here comes Daddy's little girl blowing into the yard, all in a mess. She's screaming. She's scratched up. Her hair looks like a milking machine's been sucking on it. They can't make out anything she's saying except the names of the boys she was last seen with. Now, what's a dad supposed to think? This is his baby girl. She's crying and screaming at the same time. Her dress is torn. She's walking a walking mass of scratches. Now, neighbor, how would that kind of math add up to you? As for this dad, his blood pressure goes into the hypertension zone. His face and eyes go candy apple red. His ears start to twitch. His nostrils start to flare. His hands become two huge clenched fists. His body starts to tremble and he bolts for the house. Now you know the drill. He didn't run. He bolted. There is a TV show called Smallville. Some of you, even you young folks, have seen this. Built around the life of a young Superman who can get from home to the scene of a tragedy in the blink of an eye. You get the picture? In a flash, this dad is out of the door. He's got his shotgun in his hand. He's about to see to it that these, you fill in the blank right there. Understand that his daughter will not be handled this way, nor will his horses for that matter, but especially his daughter. Then he intends to see them off into an early eternity. He explained this one to Peter at the gate, buddy. Well, guess whose house he gets to first? Yep, it was the home of Albert Ogle. Papa had to do some fast talking that night to keep his own hide and save my dad's. In the end, though, they escaped with no buckshot leaks in their bodies. But as for my dad, he did not escape a revival meeting outside the house by Brother Horse Strap. You know, I've thought about what happened after what had been an unforgettable night over the years. I've thought about this story. I can picture it in my mind since I've been on a snipe hunt myself. I've never heard my daddy talk about another snipe hunt he went on after that night. But you know what? When I get to heaven, I think I'll ask you, just for fun. What's that you say? What did I do? Oh, we were harmless. What we did is we took some friends down into the woods, left them with the bag, went back to the car and sat on the hooded car, enjoying a soda, just wondering how long it would take them to get out of the woods. And we heard names being called after a while. Where y'all at? And then it wasn't too long, we heard some stuff being said that you have to go home and look up in the dictionary. So, yeah, I did. You know, you couldn't do that nowadays. People will shoot you if your shadow crosses their shadow without their permission. And I know some of you guys just heard this story. You can't picture nothing but your faces are all beat red and your ears is twitching. And your nostrils are flaring and you're just trembling with it. You're angry. Look, calm down. Go suck your thumb. It'll be all right. We had good, clean fun. Those kids stayed friends, even the girl. I will say, like I said, I've never heard of another snipe hunt Daddy went on after that day. What about you, neighbor? Maybe you want to send me some stories of the fun you had. I would love to hear those, and I might even use some of them. Before this project's over, you hear about other things we did. We had fun. And we all stayed friends. Now that's a perfect kind of society right there, isn't it? Where you can scare the bejeebies out of one another one day and go to revival meeting together the next. I'm afraid that's a talent this world has lost. And I think that's pretty sad. That's all I got for you today. Hope you laughed a little bit. And we'll be back next week with another story. I have no clue what it'll be yet. But I hope you've enjoyed this enough so far that you'll come back and be with us one more time. You have a great day. God loves you, and so do I. Bye-bye.